ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो
भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नारायणं
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव
नरं चैव
नरोत्तमं
नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं
देवीं
सरस्वतीं
सरस्वतीं
व्यासं
व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो
ततो
जयमुदीरये।
जयमुदीरये।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु
भद्रेषु
अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं
नित्यं
भागवत
भागवत
सेवया
सेवया।
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवतोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
भक्तिर्भवति
भक्तिर्भवति
नैष्टिकी।
नैष्टिकी।
Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, titled Conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. And today's verse is verse number 36. Sukham to idanim trividham
सुखं
सुखं तु इदानीं
त्वइदानीं
त्रिविधम्।
त्रिविधाम्।
शृणु मे भरतर्षभ
शृणु मे
शृणु मे
भरतर्षभ।
भरतर्षभ।
अभ्यासात् रमते यत्र
अभ्यासाद् रमते
अभ्यासरमते
यत्र
यत्र
दुःखानन्तं च निगच्छति।
दुःखान्तं च
दुःखान्तं च
निगच्छति।
निगच्छति।
सुखं तो इदानीं त्रिविधाम्
सुखं
सुखं तु
त्वइदानीं
इदानीं
त्रिविधाम्।
त्रिविधम्।
शृणु मे भरतर्षभ
शृणु मे
शृणु मे
भरतर्षभ।
भरतर्षभ।
अभ्यासात् रमते यत्र
अभ्यासाद् रमते
अभ्यासरन्ते
यत्र
यत्र
दुःखान्तं च निगच्छति।
दुःखान्तं च
दुःखान्तं च
निगच्छति।
निगच्छति।
सुखं तो इदानीं त्रिविधाम्
सुखं
सुखं तु
त्वइदानीं
इदानीं
त्रिविधम्।
त्रिविधम्।
शृणु मे भरतर्षभ
शृणु मे
शृणु मे
भरतर्षभ।
भरतर्षभ।
अभ्यासात् रमते यत्र
अभ्यासाद् रमते
अभ्यासात्तमते
यत्र
यत्र
दुःखान्तं च निगच्छति.
दुःखान्तं
दुःखान्तं
च
च
न
निगच्छति।
निगच्छति।
Anyone would like to lead?
सुखं तु इदानीं त्रिविधम्।
सुखं
सुखं
त्वइदानीं
त्वम् इदिनं
त्रिविधम्।
त्रिविधम्
शृणु मे भरतर्षभ।
शृणु मे
शृणु मे
भरतर्षभ।
भरतर्षभ
अभ्यासाद्रमते यत्र
अभ्यासाद्
अभ्यासात्
रमते
रमते
यत्र
यत्र
दुःखान्तं च निगच्छति।
दुःखान्तं च
दुःखान्तं च
निगच्छति।
निगच्छति.
सुखं इदानीं त्रिविधम्।
सुखं
सुखं
तु
तम्
इदानीं
इदानीं
त्रिविधम्।
त्रिविधम्
शृणु मे भरतर्षभ।
शृणु
शृणु
मे
मे
भरतर्षभ
भरतर्षभ।
अभ्यासाद् रमते यत्र
अभ्यासात्
अभ्यासाद्रमते
रमते
यत्र
यत्र
दुःखान्तं च निगच्छति।
दुःखान्तं च
दुःखान्तं च
निगच्छति.
निगच्छति।
Thank you very much. Word by word meaning. Sukham, happiness.
सुखम
Sukham
हैप्पीनेस।
happiness.
Tu but.
तू बट
Tu but
Idanim now.
इदानीं नौ
idanim now.
Trividham of three kinds.
त्रिविधम ऑफ थ्री
Tridam
काइंड्स।
Shrunu here.
shrunu here.
May from me.
मे फ्रॉम मी।
Me from me.
Bharatarshava.
भरतर्षभ।
O
Bharatarshava.
best amongst the Bharatas.
ओ बेस्ट अमॉन्ग द भरतास।
Abhyasat by practice.
अभ्यासात बाय
Abhyasa
प्रैक्टिस।
by practice.
Ramate one enjoys.
रमते वन
Ramate
एंजॉयस।
one enjoys.
Yatra where.
यत्र वेर
Yatra where.
Dukkha of distress.
दुख ऑफ डिस्ट्रेस।
Dukkha of distress.
Antam the end.
Antam the end.
Cha also.
च
Cha
आल्सो
also.
Nigachati gains.
निगच्छति
Nigachati
गेन्स।
gains.
Translation. Translation by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
प्रभुपाद की जय।
O best of the Bharatas.
O
ओ बेस्ट
best
ऑफ द
of the
भरतास।
Bharatas.
Now please hear from me
नाउ प्लीज हियर
Now
फ्रॉम
please
मी
hear from me
about the three kinds of happiness
अबाउट द थ्री
about
काइंड्स
the
ऑफ
three kinds of
हैप्पीनेस
happiness
by which
बाय
by
विच
which
the conditioned soul enjoys.
the conditioned
the
soul
conditioned
enjoys,
soul enjoys,
and by which
and
and
by
by
which
which
he sometimes
he sometimes
he sometimes
comes to the end of all distress.
comes to
comes
the
to
end
the
of all
end of all
distress.
distress.
Thank you very much. Anyone would like to read the purport by His Divine Grace?
Conditioned soul tries to enjoy material happiness again and again. Thus, he chews the chewed, but sometimes in the course of such enjoyment, he becomes relieved from material entanglement by association with a great soul. In other words, a conditioned soul is always engaged in some type of sense gratification. But when he understands by good association that it is only a repetition of the same thing, and he is awakened to his real Krishna consciousness, he is sometimes relieved from such repetitive so-called happiness.
Thank you very much. Let's all chant together. Ajnana timirandasya
Vikirantasya
jnananjana
Nanjana
shalakaya
Salakaya
Chakshurmritam yena
Chakshurmitamena
tasmai Sri Gurave
Sri
Nama
Gurave Nama
Sri Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Manobishtam
Manobhishtam
Sthapitam Yena
Tanmena
Bhutale
Bhutale
Swayam Rupa
Swayam
Kadamaiham
Rupa
Dadati
Kadamayam Dadati
Swapadantikam
Swapadantikam
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri
Sri Guru
Gutapadakamalam Sri Guru
Sitakambalam
Vaishnavamscha
Sri
Sri Rupam
Rupam
Sagrajatam Sakana
Sagrajatam
Raghunatham Tam
Sagranagunatam Vitam
Sajivam
Sajivam
Sadvetam
Advitam
Savadutam
Savadutam
Parijana
Parijan
Sahitam
Saitam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Devam
Sri Radha Krishna
Krishna
Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri
Lalita Sri
Vishakhapitamscha
Vitancha
He Krishna
He
Karuna
Krishna
Sindhu Dina
Indo
Bandhu
Indo
Jagatpate
Janapati
Gopesha Gopika
Gopika
Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute
Namaste
Tapta Kanchana
Bhaktan
Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vaneshwari
Vrishabhanusute Devi
Devi
Pranamami Hari Priye
Hari
Vanchakalpataruvescha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna
Shri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu
Chaitanya Prabhu
Nityananda Shri
Nityananda
Advaita
Shri Advaita
Gadadhar
Gadadhara
Shivas Adi Gaura
Sri
Bhakta Vrinda
Bhakta
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare Hare.
Nilachara Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyang Jagannataya Te Namo. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. What a powerful verse to ponder today about this wonderful topic. So here, last time we discussed about determination in the mode of ignorance. So now Krishna is changing to a topic where he is giving the overview about once you're determined to do something, after that, the outcome of the determination in terms of happiness will come, right? So he's going systematically. And as you heard, Krishna went from, you know, Krishna went from action to knowledge to karma to karta. Karma is nature of action. Karma means uh, digging is karma. But karta is the person who is doing the digging. That is karta. He described karta who is doing the work from 26 to 28. 30 to 32, he talks about in order to do, then you need to have understanding or knowledge. Then after that, in the last three verses, we talked about dhriti. Dhriti is determination in the three. And now, these four verses, now he's opening up for happiness. For happiness, next three verses will be happiness on mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. So four verses, 36, 37, 38, 39. So beautiful flow you see Lord is giving all analysis, beautiful analysis, knowledge, karma, karta, buddhi, dhriti, and sukha. So beautifully explaining. So here Lord is saying 36, sukham tvam idanim trividham. Shrunu me Bharatava. Shrunu means he is asking
Yes.
Arjuna, Bharatashava, he is the head among all the Bharatas from the descendant of the dynasty from Bharata, that here, first, so every time Krishna emphasize the importance of hearing. He- Hearing is a thing, everything starts with hearing. And he's focusing on making Arjuna hear. Surya mein Bharata Shravha. What he's going to talk about? He's going to talk about Sukham tam idanim trividham. That sukha or happiness, which follows determination in the flow of thing, is three types. Is three types. Abhyasat ramate yatra. Abhyasat means by practice. By practice, one enjoys. Where and when? By so Krishna is giving a beautiful impression here. You see, happiness. People think it has to be felt. It has to be felt. But Krishna is telling something else here. Krishna is saying by practicing happiness, abhyasat ramate yatra. By practicing happiness, dukkhantam cha nigacchati. Dukkha antam, dukkhantam. The end of distress or unhappiness is is nigacchati. It's gained. So you see, Krishna is opening up to give an expression of happiness, and that will follow in three verses. But he's saying something very unique here, which we all should recognize. Happiness is not something which you feel, as many people say. The feeling is in air. I met somebody, I'm feeling happy. It's not about feeling. Happiness is not a feeling, but happiness, Krishna is saying, abhyasat ramate yatra. That means happiness has to be practiced. And why he's saying that, we'll go into it through the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So let's try to go a little bit deeper into this. So, so what Krishna is saying is happiness has to be practiced. Abhyasat ramate yatra. So if you see, Krishna is constantly going from knowledge, karma, karta, buddhi, dhriti, and sukha. And then he is saying sukha is of three kinds. And these three kinds of happiness depends on the modes of people in that. And we'll go deep into that in the next verse, 37, where he is going to discuss about sukha in the mode of goodness, 38, sukha in the mode of passion, and sukha in the mode of ignorance. And then he says, abhyasa tramate yatra, by practice, sometimes one engages in such happiness, dukkhantam cha nigacchati. That means when one practice happiness, he can come out of the misery. Dukkhantam. He can come out of the misery. So Krishna wants you to practice happiness. Happiness is not a state of mind. Happiness is not a state of feeling. Happiness is a practice. Happiness has to be practiced. Exactly like how Krishna consciousness need to practice. And that's how it is going to dovetail now. But we'll stay with this because Krishna is saying something very unique, which the movie industry, the novelist, they totally take us away. They give us a totally wrong impression of life. If you see some of the movies which are released nowadays, these movies give a totally different impression of what life is. Some movies are like, a human being turns into animal and there is some belief. The human being becomes a dockhead. He goes and into the forest, and you see these movies are making multi-million dollars. But actually, that's not the real intent of happiness. The real intent of happiness is not a feeling, not I met somebody. It's not real happiness. Krishna says, Abhyasat ramate yatra. That means happiness has to be practiced. And we'll discuss a little bit. And this then Krishna is emphasizing here, Arjuna, O Arjuna, please hear me. And he gives a generic overview of three kinds of happiness by telling that sometimes abhyasat ramate yatra, that sometimes the living entity enjoy this kind of happiness, and sometimes dukkhantam cha nagacchati, that living entities comes out of miseries at an end of sorrow, dukkhantam. By doing what? By practicing. And he talks about how material pleasure has a beginning and end. And there, he, Prabhupada says, chewing the chewed. And in chapter 5, Krishna talks about how material pleasure has a beginning and end. Anything you end up starting a happiness, like you got $10,000, it gave you happiness. After 3 months, you're done with 10,000, and then you're seeking or yearning for some more, and that is the end of your happiness. And then in the 7th chapter, he talks about how fruits of demigod worship is also temporary. You do something for the demigods, they give you some benediction, give you some benefit. You use up that benefit. You took a loan, you use up the loan. Exactly like that, happiness given by the demigods are also temporary. Antavat phalam tesam. That means it's temporary and it has an end. So Krishna has talked about many things which is temporary, but here he's talking about termination, means completing that. Dukhantam, anta. That means the end of unhappiness, an end of sadness. So termination of miseries. How will this misery be terminated? By practice. Dukhantam cha nigachanti is 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 abhyasa ramate yatra. That means that happiness in the mode of goodness has to be cultivated. Abhyasa ramate yatra. That actually this happiness doesn't come automatically. It has to be cultivated. How happiness has to be cultivated so that it becomes cultivated means practiced, right? So it has to be practice. So if you end up doing an activity, it ends with it, then that means whatever you have started out to yearn towards has ended. But once you practice that, once you have a sense of practicing happiness, that means anything which we cultivate. And that is where Srila Prabhupada and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that that is nothing but Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, if you practice, that is dukkhantam cha niganchati. That means that will end sadness in our life. Anytime you end up doing, whether a person who is resorting to alcoholism, he starts and he thinks that by the time he ends his liquor, his sadness will go away. But actually, it aggravates all his problems. So the real sense or definition of happiness is mistaken in this material world by this exterior things like the movies and whatnot. It gives a totally wrong impression of our society, wrong impression of where we should derive happiness. And we are constantly going after and after. On a Friday evening, you'll see when the movie is released, there is a heavy rush. We're constantly getting down into that, and many people have not realized that. So that's where Srila Prabhupada uses the word chewing the chewed. What is chewing the chewed? Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam mentions punar punar charvita charana anam. That means Prahlad Maharaj is saying puna puna means again and again. Charvita means things already chewed. Charvananam, who are chewing. So we read Srila Prabhupada's purport where he says, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, because of their uncontrolled senses, person too addicted to material life make progress towards hellish condition and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. In our youth, we all have taken chewing gum, right? Most of the time, we buy a chewing gum, we think it's going to give us pleasure. After 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it becomes so sticky. After you derive the pleasure, you keep on chewing the chewed because you don't know where to take it out because you don't have a tissue paper. You keep on chewing the chewed, and at that time, that chewing gum, instead of giving you happiness, it gives you pain. And finally, you stick it somewhere, and that gives pain. Subsequently, somebody gets stuck in that, it gets under somebody's seat or shoes and whatnot and gets stuck and it attracts dirt. So Srila Prabhupada emphasized chewing the chewed. This our seeking happiness in this material world is by virtue of, and what are we seeking for? Everybody is seeking for ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunancha. Ahara, eating, nidra, sleeping, bhaya, defending, because you're always trying to defend yourself, maithunamcha, material sexual pleasure. These are the four main pillars which everybody is looking for. Animals look out for that. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunancha. But these are the four devotees and yogis they try to shun. That how not to eat a lot, how to eat less and controlled our desire, our craving of the tongue to eat more and more. Nidra, if there is a very cold and you're under the comforter, how not to get caught up and wake up early in the morning, how not to get caught up, how to fight that yearning for nidra, bhaya, that sense of anxiety which we all are suffering from because of this bhaya, and maithunancha, always desiring to have conjugal relationship in the wrong way. Everybody is seeking that. And what are they? They are chewing the chewed. After you eat a lot of rasgulla, for example, which is so nice, you don't feel like eating again and again. After oversleeping, you don't feel like, because that's not our natural propensity. Too much of bhaya leads to disease, and too much of seeking uh, sensual pleasure leads to frustration. So much of killing is happening nowadays because of, you know, inadequate desire for all of these. So, so as Prahlad Maharaj is saying, puna puna charvita charana anam. That means too much of material engagement is like chewing the chewed. Only the devotees, only the people who are aware of this spiritual science, as nicely mentioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are discussing it, recognize that difference. Others won't. Others will still go to, you know, restaurants. In a now is the time when there are a lot of holidays parties happening in the office here and there, and there's a strong desire to meet people over food. People are just gobble up, and that's nothing but what Thanksgiving here stands for. And there is too much of desire for eating. The entire food industry is about how to increase the craving in a customer so that he keeps on buying and buying and buying. And nice comforters, nice way to sleep, spring mattress, foam mattress, this, that, and how uh, the 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 fear of losing our job or losing something, fear of the mortgage taking over, how that is really engulfing the anxious customer in this world, and people yearning uh, for sensual pleasure. So the only way you can get rid of this in our life is when you see somebody who is more happier. When That's why a devotee who is happy, these people who are having this false impression of happiness like an animal, they go and meet a pure devotee and seek happiness, because what is that person has, why he's so happy? And that is where they realize that they have unshackled themselves from the cravings of food, oversleeping, fearing, and sensual pleasure. And that's why they are insulated from all of that. And when you align yourself with a devotee and practice something which is called Krishna consciousness, then happiness is practiced. And that is what Krishna is saying here. Abhyasat ramate yatra. That means by practice, one enjoys. And what is that practice? That practice, as Krishna is saying, is Krishna consciousness. So happiness is not a feeling, is not some stars in our mind because you met someone, or it's you got a job which is paying you too much. That's not real happiness. The real happiness is our ability to practice happiness again and again and again and again. And when Dhruva Maharaj got the entire planetary system by Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaj says, I was going after this glass pebbles, but Dhruva Maharaj meeting Vishnu, where he could see the transcendental form of the Lord. He said, I was going after the pebbles, but I got the diamond. And that is when he realizes that I was going in the wrong path. But anyway, by that time, the benediction was done. He had to go and enjoy in his own Dhruva planetary system. And so he has that realization that when we have an opportunity, that's why there are some wonderful devotees of uh, of our parampara. They say when good fortune arises, you meet a good devotee who can drive you to happiness. Seeking happiness becomes the purpose of life, and sometimes we don't know what our purpose of life is. And this is where Krishna, in the third line, has mentions that abhyasat ramate yatra. And what is that we have to abhyas? We'll go detail into the next verse, where he talks about what is the thing which we have to practice to have happiness in the mode of goodness. That is next verse. So with that, this is all about happiness. This is the key everybody is searching for. Everybody in this world is searching for happiness. It's just that they don't know what happiness is, and Krishna is clarifying it so beautifully. So if you can take this verse to your life and practice, because Krishna is asking you to practice abhyasa ramate yatra. That means we have to practice something wherein in Krishna consciousness also we may get sadness. There's no guarantee that, but that sadness has to be taken in the context that you are doing it for someone else who is for a higher cause. So with that, like to hear your views, your comments and reflections about this beautiful verse. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any thoughts, Prabhu? Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thanks for clarifying this, Prabhuji. I read this, but I never got the grasp that happiness is a feeling or a state of mind. That's what our impression was, right? But you clarified well that through Krishna and Prabhupada that happiness is a process basically which we have to practice. It's a modification of the consciousness, Prabhuji, which we have to alter the consciousness that way that we attain the happiness. So, and that is through practice, Prabhuji. And this happiness, as we realize, like how Prabhupada and Krishna and Guru Maharaj also tells that if light is there, darkness won't be there. So similarly, if happiness is there, then um, the in the end, he says, right, the distress won't be there, Prabhuji. Happiness and distress do not coexist. That's what this verse is telling, that if you practice and you reach the state of happiness, then automatically um, we it's the end of the distress also, Prabhuji. Dukkha end. So that is a very beautiful one, Prabhuji, and but a different perspective you have given. Abhyasad Ramate. So how to practice also we have got pointers, Prabhuji. How to practice to attain that state, to attain that. It's not. It's analogous, Prabhuji. It's not digital that happy we are, either we are happy or we are sad, right? It is not that binary. It is analogous. The practice is analogous. What I mean to say is that we have to go through practice that such that it goes from zero to that particular state. That is what I got from your lecture, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, I'm open for discussion, yeah, or comments. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah,
discuss it further. Yeah.
exactly. So whenever we take sweets, for example, someone who is not diabetic, he has a very exciting sense of appreciating sweets, rasgulla for that matter. But for a diabetic, that's actually a poison. Likewise, if a person is in a state of mind where he has transcended these four attraction, ahara bhaya, nidra maithunancha, that means he's not caught up with the animalistic tendency because our soul is always seeking for happiness. Sachitananda. Our soul is always seeking for happiness. But we are letting the soul go wandering in areas such as sweets for ahara, a nice way of sleeping with fan, AC and all. Then bhaya in the defending always, trying to protect as if we are protecting. And maithunanja, that means seeking sensual pleasure. But the soul is not after these four. Soul is part and parcel of Supreme. And as long as we engage our soul for the service of Supreme, the soul is happy. So it's like this. You are accelerating and at the same time you are putting the brake. Basically, we're wasting our energy. When we're trying to accelerate, the car is going forward, but we are braking it. We, if we accelerate at the right time, like whenever you're going on a uphill, right? And you are already in the uphill and you are on a high gear and you cannot change it often and you're trying to in a continuous variable transmission you're trying to accelerate but you have not caught up with it. But on the contrary, if before getting to the steep slope on 280 is very steep, 280 west and east are very steep, you can check it out. If you ramp up with high speed when you are low, the car is going to take it over. That means if we have to align with what soul is asking, it is not a fight. It's very simple. But we end up doing things what soul doesn't want. Soul is seeking the supreme, but instead we are focusing on something else. So it's like putting brakes and accelerating at the same time. It's a waste of time, actually. Many people have realized it. That's why we are trying to discuss this wonderful subject matter. But many people haven't, who are now enjoying Friday evening with potluck parties in their friends' houses. They have not understood this. So this is what Krishna is saying. We have to get into a state of consciousness where we align our soul's desire with our actions, and that will give us happiness.
So where your action is reinforced to the soul's happiness is the state of basically
Yes,
is that state where what Krishna is describing here, right, Prabhuji? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Thank you. Any other comments?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Nice, nice class, Prabhuji. So, I mean, there is few of the classes I heard, Prabhuji, like when there is a saying that, especially Jayapatak Swami Maharaj in his classes, he says, if you are in happy, then if you are in Krishna consciousness, then there is no place for being unhappy. That is one thing. So, but when I again listen to Gorang Prabhu's classes, so he says usually, so remember one thing, Krishna consciousness, when you start it, your real problem starts from there. So he gives a very practical example. He says people leave everything. They say that, okay, means tomorrow I will start 16 rounds and my problem will disappear. But they should remember that, whoever is friends of Krishna uh, in Mathura Vrindavan, so they were facing difficulties during, their life was like morning during breakfast, one asura will be there, lunchtime another asura will be there, evening time there will be another asura. So much of difficulty they faced, right? So expecting happiness and relating that, okay, with Krishna consciousness, is means he wanted to say that it's a very wrong perspective, that okay, means we came and things will disappear. But I feel that whatever he says, that is a material perspective. Means we should not go for materially relating, on this one. And what Jayapatak Swami Maharaj says, he says it's a spiritual perspective. He says that, okay, if you're in Krishna consciousness, you should not be unhappy. That's it. So both of it I analyze, and I feel that, okay, it's a very good transcendental mellow comes from both of their Gauranga Prabhu and Jayapatak Swami Maharaj, their classes. So, and what you said in this sloka also, Prabhuji, so it is kind of similarly reflecting, in fact.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, Gauranga Prabhu provides a practical view to address happiness, but thinking that we can change. See, we have been leading a material life 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then we become a brahmachari and we start doing 16 rounds, or we try to have a grihastha life where from our core time of dropping our kids, we take 2 hours away for chanting. There will be disturbances, there will be challenges, there will be, uh, but he is saying, see, in 2018 Jagannath Puri Yatra, Gaurang Prabhu mentions on not Tota Gopinath, uh, in Haridas Thakur Siddhavakul Mutt, there are 1,000 people, and he gave the class for that Dham Yatra that day. He says, out of the entire world, around 10 to 12% of the people are vegetarian. We are actually in the minority, and as we are in the minority, it's not a challenge. It's a it's a uh, it's a reality check to recognize that you are in the right side. 12% of the people are on the right side of the situation where life cannot be taken if you can't give life to others. So he puts it in a very aspiring manner, in which case he says not to give up. There will be challenges, but not to give up. And also, His Holiness Japata Swami Guru Maharaj, he mentions that he left a very comfortable life in Minneapolis and so many places, and he has experienced the other side of happiness. So there is hope in both of their uh, teachings, and in the context they all have said this. I'm sure people have they have influenced it is positively. So thank you for bringing the contrast in their preaching in our things. But so this is how see he deals with all the brahmacharis on a day-to-day basis. So i- unless unless he puts the problem up front, then there will be not enough impetus for them, for others to step up. So in that context, we all have to try in our way, in our whatever way we can, to practice. And practicing is not easy. I mean, sometimes back, you see in the cricket games, uh, the bowler will constantly be bowling little outside the off stump. I mean, he's testing the batsman whether he's going to touch the ball and get caught behind or leave the ball. So at that time, you have to be exactly knowledgeable where your off stump is. So likewise, Krishna consciousness is is a practicing thing. It's going to give us happiness, but no one is saying it's easy. Easy or difficulty is not said here, but but we should keep practicing. And when we become practice, we get insulated from the negative effects of life, and we derive happiness. Even the sadness which comes out of Krishna consciousness is taken as a prasad from the lordships. And once you think that it's a prasad from the lordships, then it doesn't matter whether the prasad is rasgulla or a little roti. It's prasad. So
Or
that's
Karela.
or Karela for that matter. Yeah.
Mhm. So,
Both are
Prabhuji,
good.
I want to Pratap Prabhu's point, Prabhuji. Um, Actually, what Gauranga Prabhu told is a state of transformation. When you are going through that state of transformation from point A to the point of happiness, right? From current point where you are to the current point to the state of happiness. What Guru Maharaj, Jayapataka Guru Maharaj told is the final state where when you are Krishna conscious, you'll reach that state of happiness. And what Gauranga Prabhu is telling, if I understood correctly, Prabhuji, is the in that process, going from this point A to the point of happiness, is the transformation which will have difficulties. Like you have to get up at 4 o'clock to really do correct chanting, right? So it is a process of transformation. But what happens after 21 days, you'll get habituated to that. And as Prabhuji told, it is not a Karela, no. Earlier, on day 1, day 2, day 10, day 15, maybe day 1 to day 6, it is we feel it's a Karela, right? But when day 21 and later, it is more of um, habit and more of a joy. Like you don't tend to sleep after 4 if you got that habit, Prabhuji. You feel guilty if you're trying to sleep. So you have reached that state of tranquility of getting up at 4, and so I think what Gauranga Prabhu is telling is that we have to go through this path. Then only, like for example, Prabhupada always mentioned, to make a golden ornament, it has to go through a transformation, right from an ore to extraction to melting, and then to the shape is given to the ornament, right? That transformation is what Gauranga Prabhu, I think, is telling, and what uh, Jayapadaga Swami Maharaj, Guru Maharaj is telling is the ultimate state, the golden earring which is formed after this transformation.
Yes.
Beautiful, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Very beautiful explanation you have given, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay.
The
Thank you, Prabhuji.
transformation of gold
Yeah.
from one place to other.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Prabhupada always gives this example, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji, it's very good.
Right. So when we discuss Bhagavad Gita is a frequently asked question. It was discussed. It is not spoken. It is discussed. So as long as we discuss,
Yes.
we study. So please join this sessions, because we all get enriched by your experiences in attaining Krishna consciousness. Thank you for sharing that and your point, Pratap Prabhu.
Prabhuji, anyone went to Virginia Temple during Christmas time? So is it something like snow covered or something like that? That route?
New Vrindavan, right?
Yes.
I'm not aware. I got their calendar, Prabhu. I'm in their mailing list.
Okay.
I get daily darshan from there also, but I did not hear. Is it snowing there? Yeah, maybe there is some, because northwest of New Jersey has some snow as well. So you may be right, but I'm not sure about the
Okay.
program.
Okay,
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
Mm.
But even if it snows, Prabhuji, that's what I heard. I never went in winter. They say that the path is closed for days before and means after. Even if it doesn't snow on that day or around those days,
They close it.
before, yeah, it gets closed. That's what they say. Means it's a little riskier to drive.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, drive on that one. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to go to any of these places like Gita Nagari or New Vrindavan or any other temple, please call them before going.
Got it, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a good thing to know. Yeah.
Sometimes they may be doing services, but the public viewing may be limited.
Yeah.
So better to check it out. Yeah. And during this time, there are a lot of events in Bhakti Center, in our temple also. There will be something. So you can always plan. This country is all about planning, right? So they will have so many programs, so many events, but you may have just missed it because you didn't know that they just had it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other reflections, discussions? So we just had Gita Jayanti. I heard it was a wonderful program. Pratap
It
Prabhu.
was so beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there.
Good.
So really,
Yeah.
it was so, I mean, the chanting of the Bhagavad Gita, it was going so nicely.
Mm,
It was so beautifully, means it was uh, chanted, the whole program.
mm,
So I know that all of us must have been there,
mm,
but it was so good. And Prabhuji, I got the Bhagavad Gita
mm,
distributed in different languages I picked up.
mm,
All of them who received it, right? They
mm.
are overjoyed. Means they were
Wow.
so happy because this usually they don't get it in US,
Mm.
and so my wife went and distributed it to various persons, means Telugu,
In
Tamil,
various
Gujarati,
languages,
in their
basically.
own
Very good.
language. They were very happy with this one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And that
that's
too,
what.
Prabhuji, on the day you have given, right? They will feel more joyous,
Mm,
basically,
Yes,
on
yes,
that day.
Prabhuji.
exactly. And as Bhakti Maharaj says, Krishna consciousness is a gift. It has to be shared, right? So you just did that. You shared the happiness to others. So it's very nice, and you did it on Makshada Ekadasi day, which has, and also um, there's a group in our temple under Nam Rup Prabhu who does Gita Parayan. That means by hearting Gita and chanting without even looking at the verse. There are kids in our temple who can chant the entire 700 slokas without even looking at the book. So if you think and you resonate with this verse, it's all about abhyasam. It's all about practice. So they do practice on Zoom and they practice just before Sunday. So if anybody is interested, you can always connect with him. And he does the Gita Parayan course where you just meet and keep reciting at the pace and write a tune, and all these things will come very naturally to you if you are interested. Okay, bro.
Oh, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, is this program virtual or online? Sorry, virtual or in
Virtual.
person?
Zoom, Zoom pay.
Zoom?
This Gita Parayan Mataji,
Yes. Because last year I was asking, my daughter is very much interested for this. So they said it is in person. So since I'm staying very
No, it's
far.
not in person, Mataji. It's means you can go in person if you want, but
Mm.
I think mostly it is Zoom.
Yes.
Okay,
So
then.
once in a month or so, I'll
Mhm.
share Prabhuji's number on the chat.
Yeah,
Uh,
that would be great.
yes. So we share Prabhuji's number. His name is Namarup Das.
Mm-hmm.
248 462. Yeah, I just shared his number. Maybe they have tests or quizzes once a month where you might have to go in person. But
Mm-hmm.
once upon a time they were doing in person. Just find out about the schedule. And I see, I get inspired by the kids actually. It's a very,
Yes,
yeah. And once your daughter learns at least 20 verses, 30 verses, you feel uh, very good that he's
I know.
reciting what Krishna recited once.
Yeah.
And Mataji, one thing I'll tell, if you go to drop her, you will then definitely sit there, right? You will also
Mm-hmm.
learn.
Yeah, that way. Yeah.
You will also learn, and as Prabhuji told, the pronunciation, because they stress on the pronunciation, Mataji.
Yeah,
The
that is the best part. Even if I try by myself, that pronunciation doesn't come.
yeah,
That's what I also wanted to learn.
yeah, the science behind the pronunciation is, Mataji, this is, as Prabhupada always tells, these are not mundane sounds.
Mm-hmm.
When you utter the correct pronunciation, Mataji, the frequency of your body, your nervous system all get aligned, and it is good for your overall spiritual and material aspects of the body, Mataji. That's why these shlokas in Sanskrit have been
They're
published.
really powerful. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I felt.
Yeah, that pronunciation is very important. And Prabhuji, where you have to stop, where you have to means
Mm-hmm.
elaborate, where you have to pause, all that I think he's taught there, Mataji.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I will get in touch with Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can WhatsApp him. He will respond immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
There is
Prabhuji's and
currently one
Mataji's.
batch going, Prabhuji. Ninth chapter, I think, is
Mhm.
happening. But I think you can join anytime and continue anytime, Mataji. It need
Yeah.
not be that you have to do from first to
Mhm.
18 in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is module chapter by chapter, so it's modularized.
Right. Yeah, I'll ask it.
Yeah. So, if there is no further inquiries, thank you so much for joining. Let's all pray at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by saying Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyacha
kripa
Kripasindhu
sindhu vaevacha patitanam
Patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
Namo Namah.
Vaishnavebhyo namo
Vaishnavebhyo namo
namo.
namo. Vaishnavrinda ki
Vaishnavrinda
jai,
ki jai.
Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita ki
Bhagavad
jai,
ki jai.
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki jai,
Ki
Gaur
Jai.
Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari
Jagannath
Hari
Hari
Prabhu
Bol.
Bol.
ki jai.